If you had to go back to the company that offered you 40K, what would stop you from leaving if things were different?
So yeah, there's a couple ways I can approach it. I mean, from the get-go, that job that I had where I was making 40K was really entry level. So it was a sales role, it was telemarketing where I was cold calling people 9 to 5. Well, actually, it was more like 7 to 6, which is another reason I'll bring up of how people can stay in those jobs. But I think it just goes down to making sure that you're taking care of your employees, and that goes with pay. They should have known that I lived in Arlington, Virginia. That's where their business was located. 40K is not a livable salary. And I was a recent college grad, so I had debt. A lot of the people that they're hiring are recent college grads with student loan debt. So it's going to be really difficult for you to attract new workers if you're underpaying them and they already know that. They're not going to want to come in. But like I was mentioning with time, I was also really overworked. Like I had no overtime. There was no 9 to 5. It was like they would call you in and say, oh, well, you need to be here by 7 a.m. because we're going to be dialing all day and you're going to be here till 8, and so that's just not good work-life balance. I don't know anyone that would be okay with that nowadays, especially with like the talk about great resignation and all that and mental health. And so just making sure you're taking care of your employees is so important, and really making sure that you're taking care of their mental health, especially with this new generation. But also, the job just sucked. I wasn't made for sales, so I was on my way out, whether I liked it or not.
It sounds like that prompted a little bit of soul searching as well. Like, okay, definitely time to find another job. So it sounds like during the past few years where you did make some changes to your jobs, I mean, did you eventually get into like a specific field or career and then work within that in terms of to grow your salary? And then the second part of that question is, how did you find out that you were underpaid?
Yeah, so great question. So exactly nail on the head. You got it. I left sales. I got an opportunity to work in data analytics in government contracting, which in this area is very common. And so I never knew what I wanted to study or what I wanted to be. And so when I went into data analytics, it was really just this is my opportunity out of sales. I'll take whatever I can get. So when I got in there, I also wasn't sure how I felt about it. And that's kind of what prompted the job hopping was that job wasn't really a good fit for me either. I didn't like what I was doing and so on and so forth. But at every single job, like since the sales, I tried to lock in on something that I could take from that job if I planned on leaving. So I was like, if I'm going to leave because I'm unhappy, I need to make sure that I'm leaving with something that's concrete and, not leaving something bad behind. I needed to leave a good relationship with all my colleagues, but I also needed to leave with a good skill, a new skill or a new mentor or someone that could direct me in the right direction. And so that was really what I did for the next 3 years. I just, everywhere I went, I learned a new skill. I expanded my network. I made myself more valuable as an employee, and I always left behind on good terms. I never left on bad terms. So I always had good references. I just kind of set myself up for success. And then the second part of the question was, oh, how did I realize I was underpaid? So I was at my fourth job. I was a senior analyst working in comms, so data, website data, social media data. And I came in to a new contract, and there was only one other colleague in the data department when I started. And like a month or two after I started, they fired him because the client didn't like him. So I'm thinking, okay, well, they're going to replace him. I'm going to get a new colleague. They did not do that. So I was left with all the responsibility of literally managing data analytics for 5 different departments in communications, which meant that I was working sunrise to sunset, no work life balance, really overwhelmed, completely burnt out. And I got to the point where I was making $90,000 in that role, but I knew the work that I was putting in and the value I was bringing. And I just started asking myself, am I being paid fairly? Because I'm doing the work of an entire department by myself. And so I started Googling it. Like I just researched how much should a senior analyst, a senior data analyst in my area with my skills and my expertise and my years of experience be making. And I realized that that person, that professional should be making over 105K. And I was at 90. So I was immediately offset by that. And I approached my management and I said, hey, here's all my research. Here's everything I've done. Here's all the kudos I've gotten from the client, all the value I bring. I want to raise. And they dragged it out for several months. They denied me. And unfortunately for them, that was really the check mark for me that I had to leave. And I did.
If we were to do point counterpoint for people who are tuning into the show, who might say it's not about the value that you bring to the organization, but sometimes people have this uh, an entitlement mindset of once you've worked a couple years or once you've been in the organization for a while, then you're entitled to more pay or perks. Could you maybe speak either for yourself or from what you're hearing from your guests about why that might not be a good strategy to do this kind of like wait until you put your time in kind of strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's just not a good approach, but also it really differs based on what industry you're in. So I was in data analytics where your hard skills are everything. You know, you have to know how to use this tool, you have to have experience with this type of system. And so for me, it was really easy to understand my value from what I knew and how I made change in the company based on what I knew that others didn't. It wasn't really a years of experience thing. It was like, I can code and you can't, and you need me to make this happen. So I knew my value, but sometimes that doesn't work. You know, if you're in recruiting or something, years of experience is probably going to really matter a lot more just in terms of your professional experience. So I just advise that it's best to do research on your industry and how that salary negotiation and bartering and all that can differ. But really, I just think that the years of experience is kind of going out the window. People are different. Every single person is different. Someone can achieve way more in 6 months with one company than someone who just wants to twiddle their thumbs and do the bare minimum. Both are completely acceptable, but one should get paid more. And if you pay the one who's working more, they're going to be more loyal and they're probably going to stay with you longer at the company and you won't have a job hopping situation. Because someone who's putting a lot of effort in and not being rewarded is going to find someone who will reward them.
Good, good, good. I've got another question, and then Summer, I know you have some questions, but part of your story too is hence with stocks and squats, your fitness journey, and how do you correlate your fitness and health journey with um, your rise in career and your rise to start your own business? Was there like a confidence boost, or what are the relations between that, and what could you share?
Yeah, so it's funny. When I started Stocks and Squats, I wasn't talking about anything career related. I was talking about my health journey and then my wealth journey, which kind of coincided at the same time. And what's funny is I didn't realize until I started talking about my career journey under Stocks and Squats that none of those things, like my health journey or my wealth journey, would have happened if I hadn't gone through my career journey. And part of that was just realizing that I'm worth so much more as a human than I am just a worker. Like I started valuing myself and what I brought to the table. And I give a lot of credit to the pandemic, unfortunately, for helping me realize, once I was at home, that the relationships I had with my family and my friends and taking care of my household and things in my life were the most important when I had been kind of on autopilot with work. And once I finally made that realization, I started losing weight. I started getting my finances in order. Everything started coming together. And I think that as a result of losing the weight, I definitely got a confidence boost. Like I started just valuing myself as a human being and I started seeing what I was capable of. And as a result, I did start doing more. I started gaining new skills. I started being way more confident. And so that helped me give better presentations. That helped me develop better relationships with mentors and my clients and such. So, really, having that health journey just helped amplify my career journey. And I was so confident of what I could achieve because I believed in myself.